What's going on, you guys? GT Jesse back with another Gran Turismo 7 livery editor video. And before we jump to the content, I just want to mention if you would like to download this livery or any of the liveries I've created in the past, all you have to do is go to the Gran Turismo 7 showcase tool and search for GT Jesse. That is GTJESSE within Gran Turismo 7 Showcase, and that'll allow you to download all of the liveries I've created and apply them to your cars to use in the game. Also, I want to mention if you like this video, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel to see more great Gran Turismo 7 content like this in the future. Now, this livery, I've actually been stewing on the concept for several months, pretty much ever since the Marshmallow and Coca-Cola collaboration drink launched back in July. I saw that can and I was like, I really like the drip effect on the Coca-Cola logo, the high contrast black and white with the marshmallow, and I've honestly been just thinking about in my head, conceptualizing how I could bring this to life in the form of a livery. Really hope you guys like this livery. If you do, let me know what you think of it in the comments below. And again, like I mentioned, if you want to download it, all you got to do is search for GT Jesse within the showcase tool. Now for this video, I'm going to let the livery watch and learn just play in the background, kind of like eye candy, while we actually talk through the content of the video. And so this video, guys, it's all about leveling up your skill set when it comes to creating liveries. And it's not really about how to get the most out of the livery editor or tips and tricks within the livery editor itself. I've made a lot of videos about that. I'll link them here. You'll see them pop up on the screen when this video goes live. But those videos, I've already done. And, every now and then I'll come across a new tip and I'll mention it. I'll kind of sprinkle it into my videos. But this video here is more about how you can just become a better livery creator, right? So you know the tools, you know the techniques, you're creating liveries, but maybe they're not where you want them to be. What can you do to level up your skill set? And this is more like, the question is not necessarily what you can do to become a better livery creator, but the question is really, how do you become a better graphic designer? How do you become a more effective digital artist? Because that's really what you're doing here. And to be honest, that is the much more difficult side to livery creation that is, just so much harder to teach and so much harder to develop. You'll see some people who make liveries and they're just next level, really just out of this world. And look, my liveries are good, but I'm honest with myself. Like, they're not great yet. They're every now and then I'll put one out and it's like, ooh, dang, like it'll catch some eyes, it'll turn some heads. But if I'm being completely honest, there are livery editor content creators or livery content creators out there that are just orders of magnitude better than I am. Like they've just been doing it so much longer and their skill set, it's so much more advanced. And it's like, how do you get from here to there? Or how do you get from even just kind of like beginner slapping some racing stripes on a car, to even just making, something that's like eye-catching and satisfying to look at. How do you get to the next level from a creative process perspective? And so that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. It's really kind of a lengthy, wordy introduction. I apologize for that, but I just want you to understand that when it comes to tips and tricks within a livery editor, there is some skill to that, but most people, I've made those videos and they're helpful if you're just starting with creating liveries, just starting in the livery editor. You're going to pick up some things that, otherwise might take you a few weeks or months to learn. It's going to just shorten that learning curve for you a bit in the beginning, but it's all stuff for the most part you're going to figure out eventually if you spend enough time in the livery editor. But I do want to go on ahead and shift over and start talking about what's worked well for me. And hopefully you'll find some nuggets of information here that you can pull from that'll help you improve as a livery creator as well. And these concepts, they're applicable to Gran Turismo, but they're really applicable to any liveries you're creating in any game, whether it's a set of Corsa, iRacing, whatever it is. These concepts are going to be applicable for you too. And I will encourage you, look, if you are the type of person who is naturally artistic or somebody who has really developed their artistic skill set, and there are things that you have found that have worked for you that you want to share with the group here, please do leave those in the comments. I would love to hear it. I am not somebody who is naturally creative. I'm not somebody who's devoted a large part of their life to art. I work in analytics. I'm very left-brained, very logical thinking. And, so this is something that I really do purely in these livery editors, right? I'm not like a sketch person. I'm not a doodler, and so either way, basically what I'm getting at is if you have any tips that you want to share that have helped you, please share them. But let's go on ahead and jump right in. And this first tip that I'm going to share with you, it's going to have a lot of carryover in the other tips that we're going to talk about today. And it's actually going to sound pretty familiar. And if it doesn't sound familiar, I think I'll elaborate and maybe it will begin to sound more familiar. But that topic, or that tip, if you will, is to practice with intention. So anytime you're creating a livery, you can throw spaghetti at the wall and hope that something sticks, right? And, eventually something will stick. But if you go into each livery that you're creating with a desired outcome, with a skill that you want to work on, with something that you want to improve, then each time you create a livery, you're going to get closer and closer to that goal, closer and closer to that desired outcome. So if you are the person who goes into the livery creator and you just have a tendency to just start putting decals on a car and see where it leads you, I would challenge you to take a step back, think about what you're trying to accomplish first, and go into it with a game plan. Start to think about that game plan, and work towards that goal as you're creating your livery. Okay, so practicing with intention, that's tip number one. And while it is a helpful tip, I think that you'll agree with me when I say it's kind of wishy-washy, right? It's not really actionable. It's good to keep in mind, but what can you actually do right now to improve your skill set? That's what we're going to talk about in tip number two. And I apologize in advance. This is another catchphrase, but I work in corporate America, and there's a lot of catchphrases that get thrown around on a day-to-day basis, and these darn things find a foothold in my brain, and then I can't forget them. So now I'm going to share them with you. And this second tip is to beg, borrow, and steal. And what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is you don't know what you don't know. So if you haven't grown up watching motorsport, or if you haven't grown up like obsessing over race cars and racing magazines and the different designs on them and their different liveries and different things you can do to design a race car, you're not going to have any of these ideas come natural to you just kind of floating around in your head. You have to develop them. And so how do you develop these ideas for something that you've never done before? Well, you beg, borrow, and steal. So step number one, try to copy a livery that somebody else has already created. Okay, so go into Gran Turismo, go into Showcase. You can even try to do this one or one of the other ones that I've uploaded and create that livery yourself. I would encourage you to do it for a livery that is different from one that like you watched a video on, because that's going to show you kind of exactly step by step how to do it. And you're not really going to learn that way, right? You need to figure it out for yourself, but you also need to know it's possible. And so, if you were to just like pick a racing livery out of a magazine, maybe it's possible to create that livery in Gran Turismo, but maybe, it's going to be like way harder than you anticipated. And so start with a livery that somebody else has already created and already shared in the Gran Turismo ecosystem, and try to create it yourself just using what you know about the livery editor. Once you're able to do that, take it a step further, and then try to create a replica livery for something that may not already be in the game, right? Try to find, a design out of a magazine or a design online that you like, and try to replicate that. And you can create it exactly as it is, or you can change some things and kind of make it your own. I've done that a couple of times with some of the TCR, Tigeny Community Racing liveries that I've created, where I've taken a livery that's kind of like a historic livery, and I've just modified it using TCR colors. And the cool thing about that is, the outcome is going to be really good, because, this is like a professional race livery, but you're just going to like change the color palette or change maybe some of like the sponsors to make it your own again. So that's tip number two, beg, borrow, and steal. And that is going to get your creative juices flowing so that that there's a desired outcome that you're working towards. You just have to figure out how to do that. And you do that, within the livery editor and throughout that creative process. Now, the third and final tip here, and you might think I'm crazy for this because You might be saying, Jess, I just started. I'm not ready for that. Nowhere near ready for that. But I'm going to challenge you otherwise. And this third and final tip is to join a livery competition. I joined the GT Community Designs livery competition this past year. It was like 7 or 8 weeks of 7 or 8 different liveries. And the awesome thing about the competition is, let's say you don't know where to start. You don't know what direction to go with your livery. The competition is going to give you that direction. It's going to give you a theme, and you have to follow that theme with your design. So then guess what? You can combine all of the other tips, and you can say, let's say the theme is to create a rusty livery. Well, you can then like go online and look up like vintage race cars, and maybe make like a rusty vintage barn find race car or whatever it is. But it's going to give you that baseline guidance for where to go with this design, and then you can build off of it. So now not only are you practicing with intention and you're kind of beg, borrow, and steal, you can use designs that you find online, make them your own, work towards a desired goal. And there's all kinds of different competitions happening all the time. If you're following livery content creators, you'll come across them. The GT Community Designs one is one of the, there's a Discord. I'll put it in the description. So if you want to hop on it next time it goes live, you can. But another one that happens, I think, on a monthly basis, and I haven't participated in this one yet, but I'm going to. It's the GT Planet competition. So check that out. I think every month they release a different concept, and everybody submits their liveries within that concept. So guys, I hope that you found this video helpful. Again, it's more just a discussion piece for different ways that you can get better at creating liveries, aside from just like techniques and tools within the livery editor itself. But just to recap, so the first tip was to practice with intention, right? Always have a desired outcome when you are creating a livery. The second tip is to beg, borrow, and steal, right? Get your creative juices flowing, build your arsenal of techniques, and then you can kind of use that to create your own material in the future. And then the third tip and, third and final tip is to join a livery competition. Step outside of your comfort zone, challenge yourself to do something that you haven't done before, and it'll get you to that next level in your livery creating process. Thanks so much again for watching, you guys. I hope you found the video helpful, and there's at least 1 or 2 tips that I provided that you'll be able to go on ahead and put into practice to level up your livery game. If you liked the video, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel to see more content like this in the future. And if you put any of these tips into practice, don't hesitate to drop your tags in the comments below, and I'll be sure to check them out within the Gran Turismo 7 Showcase tool and let you know what I think of your liveries within the Gran Turismo 7 livery editor. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a great rest of your day.